and think it's safe, you would need to treat. You would need to have a good, reliable feedstock, and then you would need to take the byproduct and treat it appropriately. The easiest way is with what you've already got. So if you take a tiny bit of the compostables that come in the door and create a compost tea out of it. So take a little bit, a lot of water, and selectively taking the sugariest of the organic waste materials, using that to create a compost tea. You're actually creating thermophilic bacteria, the bacteria of compost. You take that and the byproduct from a very selective process of pyrolytic combustion. You marry those two together, and the thermophilic bacteria take any tiny little problems that might be in that ash or char, and it digests it. So then you no longer have mercury, you no longer have volatile organic compounds. They're actually eating those things. But it's the devil's in the details. If you're using a toy from Walmart with the paper, then you can't do biochar. And if you're interested in looking at more about biochar, we have one of the greatest resources right here in the state at OSU Extension. They're doing wonderful technology. The name you'd look for is Josh Beniston. So I guess there's a question at the end of this. How selective are you going to be with the feedstocks? Can we be confident that you're just going to use organic waste and papers, or are there going to be plastics? It's great that you're already going to sort out e-waste, but that's the detail that's really concerning to me.
Thanks for the question and for your information. Once we look that up on Josh. We're going to be very selective about what we actually put into our fuel pellets. Ultimately, there's going to be a lot of recycling that takes place in advance. We'll remove the harmful things, as you said, and then we'll look at what's left. As we said before, we're considering now composting and how that can play into the process. So, yeah, we're going to be very selective on what actually ends up in our fuel pellet. So we recycle as much as we can, compost as much as it really makes sense, as much as our community is committed to it. We're going to give it a real shot and try to make it work. But what ends up in the fuel pellet, then we'll pelletize and then, of course, proceed with the process.
You didn't answer the question. Are there going to be plastics going into this book?
Thanks for that follow-up. The materials that we cannot recycle, if there's plastics that's contaminated, if there's paper that's contaminated, yeah, we're going to have to do something with it, or it's going to end up in a landfill. So our plan would be to pelletize it.
Molly Lutz, followed by Rita Freiberger.
Hi there. My name is Molly Lutz. I just wanted to preface my comments by saying that I moved to the Cleveland area about a little over a year ago, from Nebraska actually. And when I decided to move out here, a lot of people kind of questioned why I would go to Cleveland, just because of how well known it is that it's a very polluted city. And I really have to defend my decision, honestly, just kind of letting people know how amazing the people are and the culture and the food and the music. I really love the city. And if the city if the city goes ahead and decides to build this new source of pollution and unproven technology at such a high cost, it will really make me question, my decision to defend the city and stay here and help, rebuild it and just be a citizen of this community. So that's what I like to say. And a lot of the other points I made, or questions or points I had, have already been made. I want to make one point about the jobs really quickly. You said that the Buckeyenest incinerator is going to create about 126 jobs, a lot of them coming from recovering the materials, like the material recovery process. Well, other cities that have amazing zero waste goals for their recycling programs, they have created tons of jobs by actually having facilities that are only for recovering those recyclable materials. So you can still have facilities that do that and recover those materials without needing to go ahead and like burn the trash as well. So we can still create those jobs by having a citywide curbside recycling program. You can create jobs there, but also building these state-of-the-art recycling facilities. You don't necessarily need like a gasification or incinerator to create those jobs. So.
Let's put that back where we were. Just a couple comments. Thank you to your comments. Thank you for coming here from Nebraska, and we hope we continue to show you how great Cleveland is. Again, some of the questions, the comments that you made, those are things that we're continuing to look at. The final design, the final facility, the composition, the different elements will determine the job levels. Our increased research on recycling and composting will have an impact to that. So thank you again. Rita Freiberger, followed by Eddie Holden. Ms. Freiberger? Thank you. Mr. Holden, followed by Claude Lawrence Cornett.
My name is Eddie Holden, part of the Cleveland Building Trades, belong to the Boilermakers Union, and a Boilermaker for 34 years. I'm here to speak about is the pollution equipment. I live right off of Ridge Road, not far from this plant, and the different type of equipment we install in. We work in the powerhouses, steel mills, and I don't think a lot of people understand the dirt and all that the tradesmen work in every day when they go into these plants. This SCR unit they're talking about, the precipitators, this is our work. The SCR unit and the bag houses, you can't get any better system than this that they have right now. This pollution equipment that's going in here is top of the line. A lot of people don't understand it. When you look at the steel mills, middle steel and whatnot, there's all kinds of pollution down there because they don't have this equipment installed. There are bag houses down there, but that goes back to the 70s. And today, with technology, with these SCR units and whatnot, unbelievable. So, like I said, I wouldn't have my family and friends live a couple of miles from this plant where I do, but I didn't believe in this technology in this plant. Thank you very much.
Mr. Cornett, followed by M.J. Beazer.
I'm an environmental engineer, and I've worked for the United States Department of Energy and US EPA on gasification and incineration. I also work for municipal waste incinerator manufacturers. Now, the technology that we've been focusing on and visited is the Kinsey-Sanyo process. And the patents for the Sanyo process are titled Methods of Incinerating Waste Material by Dry Distillation and Gasification. Another one is Apparatus for Incinerating Waste Material. And then there's one Waste Material Disposal Method. If you go to the home page for Kinsey-Sanyo, it is titled Energy Incinerator Plant Company. Now, why do you find it necessary to try to deceive us by only referring to the proposed process as gasification and not as a form of incineration? The proposed waste treatment system is much more complex than conventional incineration, and the Kinsey-Sanyo process is much more complex than some other forms of gasification and incineration. The proposed furnaces would take the pelletized municipal waste, fill it up, put it in a chamber, and burn it from the bottom up under smoldering, oxygen-starved conditions. The resulting soot tars, waxes, oils, other aerosols, and flammable gas would then be burned in energy recovery furnaces, except for that which may be deposited within and perhaps clog the process, captured and treated by pollution control equipment, or discharged into the environment. In fact, Kinsey has been experimenting now with using condensers to simply condense and collect all those tars and aerosols and convert them into liquid fuel, which is more dangerous than burning it, frankly, because of process upset. Now, the draft permit to install is based on vague generic block diagrams of the proposed installation, unsupported performance specifications, and minimal regulatory requirements for small conventional incinerators. Now, before a permit to install can be legally issued, Ohio EPA regulations specify that the detailed engineering plans, specifications, and other information be submitted must be sufficient to allow a clear understanding for technical review of the permit application, provide assurance that the facility is designed and operated in accordance with applicable requirements. Cleveland Public Power did not submit the required details, thus rendering the draft permit invalid. What makes Cleveland Public Power and the Cleveland Division of Air Quality, both of which personnel report to the mayor, think that it actually has a valid draft permit that will withstand litigation without submitting the information required? And when you plan to obtain and submit that information, no test data is available on the proposed process using Cleveland's municipal waste, and the failure of municipal waste gasification and incineration systems is common. With 8 batch dry distillation furnaces and no experience on Cleveland's waste, the chances of severe operational and environmental problems and the failure of the installation is multiplied. At last report, no full-scale municipal waste gasifier incinerator has been granted a permit to operate in the United States. Now, on slide 40, and they can present it here, you say, it says select municipal waste energy projects, and subtitle Gasification in Operation in the Americas Today, various technologies. Now, if you actually look at that, you'll see construction begins in the spring of 2012, and the earliest one to show operational is October 2012. That does not illustrate the kind of care that's needed to deal with something like this in a responsible manner. Now, in the August 31st Princeton Environmental Basis of Design study, the proposed energy incineration and energy recovery process is shown located outdoors at Ridge Road. Looks kind of like a refinery. At previous hearings, Cleveland Public Power said that fugitive emissions would be prevented by having all air pollution sources inside a building under negative pressure and with all exhaust sent through air pollution control equipment. This type of equipment that's proposed is commonly located outdoors or under a roof with huge openings in the ambient air to prevent the buildup of toxic and flammable gases. My other 2 questions are, why is it not specified in your air pollution permit application that everything would be indoors like you said in previous hearings? And how is an indoor installation of the entire system possible, including vents and safety valves and other processes, without the danger of causing severe hazards to the health and safety of your workers? And
Mr. Cornett, I apologize for cutting you off, but we are running short of time.
okay, one more sentence. How are the gases and odors associated with pelletization controlled, since bag houses and simple water spray at doors are ineffective? I can leave you a copy of my comment.
GT Environmental to address your questions about what's in the air permit and its adequacy. As Chuck Thompson, I'm going to respond briefly to the question about Kinzai's technology being incineration or gasification. You know, I used to work in a patent office as a patent law intern, and I found a fascinating thing about patent law and its ability to issue a patent based on what people typically perceive the patent applicant to discuss. So when you see a patent application, for example, references to common things like incineration, gasification, the patent examiner is referring back to what he's typically seen before, and as you know, that's not uncommon. Okay, so.
Mr. Cornett, maybe at some point we could discuss the application in more detail, but the application meets all of Ohio EPA's requirements for a complete application. It wouldn't process it if it didn't. That's a fact, and I don't know how else to respond to that part of your question. The application also specifies that all of the equipment associated with the 4 gasification lines, as well as the material recovery facility, will be located indoors. And the application is clear on that matter as well. So perhaps we need to get a complete copy of the application and walk through it to alleviate your concerns with respect to those items. But the application is complete. It meets all the requirements that Ohio EPA specifies. It has the requisite detail with respect to how the process will operate, what emissions will be generated by the process. It describes in detail each component of the air pollution control system, and it describes how those components of the air pollution control system, the operating parameters that Ohio EPA has specified in the permit as requirements for operation of the facility.
And Jay Muser, followed by Councilwoman Kathleen Pucci, City of Brooklyn.
Hi, I'm MJ Muser. I've grown up in Cleveland. I've lived here my whole life. I live on the near west side of Brooklyn Center. I have a grandson who lives on Pearl Road. Last year we had a rush to the emergency room. For 4 days he had to be in the hospital because he couldn't breathe. And I want to know, with Cleveland being #1 in toxic air emissions, how you have the balls to come in here and tell us we need more of anything, #1. #2, what part of no we don't want it don't you understand? You're going to learn that in nursing school and how to know. #3, you mentioned that this would help the trash go away. Where? Nothing goes away. You said nothing goes away. So where would it go? In our lungs? That's not acceptable. And as far as the EPA regulations go, don't get me started. They are worse in the country for enforcement, the Ohio EPA. They're kind of a joke. And the other question is, I ride a bicycle on Denison Road. I can't even go on the street, it's so bad with the chuck hole. So you're talking about trucks and costs. Who the hell's going to pay for this road? Because the city of Cleveland can't even pay to fix it now. Is this company going to pay for these roads? People up? No. And the other thing is you talk about keeping costs down, and I want to know, how low is the cost of my grandson's lungs?
Answer your third question about the away. I mean,